Hi friends, welcome to Miss Mo's channel. I have some books here and I'd like to read one of them to you. This one stood out to me. It's called The Third Grade Detectives, number 1. The Clue of the Left-Handed Envelope. Let's read the back to see what it's all about. Who sent Amber Lee an anonymous letter? What is anonymous? Does anybody know what that means? Anonymous is a fancy word for secret person, right? An anonymous letter means it's a secret letter. Someone sent it, but they didn't address who it was from. Everyone loves the new teacher, Mr. Merlin. Mr. Merlin used to be a spy, and he knows all about secret codes and the strange and gross ways the police solve mysteries. Now there's a mystery in their very own class. Someone sent Amber Lee Johnson an anonymous letter. Noelle and Todd want to solve the mystery before anyone else. But first, they have to figure out Mr. Merlin's clues. How can a bunch of envelopes tell them who sent the letter? You can help decode the clues and solve the mysteries in these other stories about third grade detectives. So there's other stories in this series. But let's go ahead and read chapter 1 and see if maybe this book interests you. And if it does, you can check it out at your local library, or you can buy it, or maybe your teacher has it in their classroom library. Chapter 1. It was the first day of third grade, and Noelle Trocadero was late. She ran down the sidewalk outside the school building. All summer long, Noelle had been looking forward to starting school again. Mrs. Trumbull would be her teacher this year. Everyone loved Mrs. Trumbull. She was the nicest teacher in the whole school. Finally, Noelle reached Mrs. Trumbull's third grade classroom. She stopped at the door. There was a man writing on the chalkboard. Something's wrong here, Noelle thought. She looked around. Her friend Todd Sloan was waving to her. Todd lived across the street from Noelle. They did a lot of things together. Noelle thought Todd was more interesting than most of the girls in her class. She hurried over and sat down in the empty seat next to him. "Who's that man?" Noelle whispered. "Mr. Merlin," Todd replied. "He's our new teacher." "What happened to Mrs. Trumbull?" Noelle asked. "She moved," Todd said. He leaned closer to Noelle. "Amber Lee Johnson said Mr. Merlin used to be a spy." Noelle blinked. How did she find that out?" Todd shrugged. Noelle looked at Mr. Merlin again. She liked spy shows on television. Maybe she wouldn't miss Mrs. Trimble after all. Mr. Merlin stopped writing on the chalkboard. He turned around and faced the class. "Good morning, class. I'm Mr. Merlin. I'm your new teacher," he said. "I used to be a spy." Leon Dennis raised his hand. What did you do when you were a spy?" "I caught lots and lots of other spies," Mr. Merlin said. "I used lots and lots of secret codes, too." Todd leaned over to Noelle. "Amber Lee said he did those things in foreign countries," he whispered. Noelle looked at him. "Really?" she whispered back. Todd nodded. "Going to school is like solving a mystery," Mr. Merlin continued. "We're going to solve a lot of mysteries this year." "What kinds of mysteries?" Amber Lee asked. "All kinds," Mr. Merlin said. He looked around the classroom. "Does anyone here have a mystery we can start with?" he asked. Noelle sighed. She wished she had a mystery so she could impress Mr. Merlin. "I have a mystery," Amber Lee said. "What's your mystery?" Mr. Merlin asked. Amber Lee stood up. She waved an envelope at everyone. "This came for me in the mail yesterday," she said. "I want to know who sent it." "What does it say?" Mr. Merlin asked. Amber Lee took a letter out of the envelope and started reading. "Dear Amber Lee, you are the smartest girl in the world. It's signed, an admirer." She looked at Mr. Merlin. "If I knew who sent it," she said, "I could say thank you." Mr. Merlin smiled. Noelle rolled her eyes at Todd. "That's not a mystery," she whispered. "Amber Lee probably sent that letter to herself." Todd nodded in agreement. Okay, Mr. Merlin said. We'll solve the mystery of who wrote Amber Lee the letter. He turned around, and here is Amber Lee telling the class all about the letter. And as you can see, Noel is below, kind of like, or at least I think that's Noel, yeah. He started writing on the chalkboard. He wrote EENPXVOLE, like this. But first, you all have to solve a secret code, he said. Why do we have to do that? Leon asked. Why can't we just solve the mystery? Secret codes are fun, Mr. Merlin said. They also help you learn to think better. I already know how to think, Leon said. I don't like to do it too much. Well, you'll want to think about this, Mr. Merlin said. There's a clue in it that will tell you where to start so you can solve the mystery. All right, my friends, so if this is a story that interests you and you like mysteries, and if you're in 3rd grade, maybe you'll like this one, check it out, The 3rd Grade Detectives #1, The Clue of the Left-Handed Envelope. Bye, friends.